Indiana uses a ton of electricity, despite only being less than 2% of the US population total. Indiana ranks 10th in total states for energy use per capita. Overall, Indiana consumes about 3 times more energy than the state produces. Most of our energy is generated by natural gas. The second form of energy is coal. We're the second largest user of energy total of coal total, second only to Texas, and this is not based off of per capita but total energy use. Coal fuels 45% of Indiana's energy generation, which is the 7th highest of any state total. Indiana has 22.9 million acres of land that is buildable and usable. 78% of Indiana's total land is used for farming. Of the 78%, more than 45% is used to grow corn. More than 46% is used to grow soy. Less than 5% is used for livestock or growing any other kind of fruit, vegetable, or actually consumable product. Corn is the largest source of income for farmers in Indiana. Soy comes in at a close second, despite only being sold for not even $5 for a bushel, which is over 60 pounds, and only $10 for a bushel of soy. Despite this, farmers make almost triple the amount of total money made off of poultry, eggs, meat, and dairy, despite those going for a much higher price in market. Though over 11 million acres of Indiana is used for growing corn and soy, almost none of this is used for human food. More than 43% of corn is used for ethanol, and more than 35% is used for animal feed. Whatever remaining corn and soy becomes oil or highly processed packaged foods that provide absolutely no nutritional value. This system degrades the land very quickly and ends up polluting hundreds of miles out from where it's produced. Nationally, solar energy development is expanding at an exponential rate due to the decreasing cost of producing and installing solar panels. Though solar energy is not the most efficient form of energy production, it still has less of an impact visually and environmentally than many other forms of energy, and it is expanding quickly in Indiana specifically as it reclaims unused farmland. Due to the increase in solar energy production and the decrease in costs, there are many different kinds of solar cells on the market and many more being developed. Most industrial solar development companies to produce electricity on large scales over acres and acres or hundreds of acres use pole-mounted bifacial tracking panels. This means that the panels themselves follow the sun and tilt during the day and allow sunlight to still pass through the panel and to the ground plane and the plants growing below it. Though solar energy production does give us a good pathway to move forward without greenhouse gases, the expansion of solar energy sites over hundreds of miles poses a potentially huge issue, as most large sites aren't taking care of the land underneath the panels. Agrivoltaics offers a solution to this issue and answers the largest community complaint, which is that solar fields take away from food production, despite us not growing food in Indiana anyway. Agrivoltaics allows us to continue producing solar energy while also using the land in a more responsible and multi-use way. Corn and soy have completely taken over the Midwest as a complete monoculture, leaving farmers poor and reliant on agrochemical companies that they buy their seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, and then down the road as consumers, vitamins from the same company. Indiana and the Midwest at large have the potential to be one of the most agriculturally productive parts of the country due to its climate and soils. However, we waste this all on corn. There are dozens or more different varieties of diverse crops that we could be growing in Indiana very successfully that we don't due to these corporate lobbyists. The benefits of growing a diverse crop are way more than just environmental or social, but have huge impacts. If solar developers continue down the path of least resistance and least input, they will inevitably continue the legacy of destruction that current Midwest agricultural fields are having on the environment. Careful design and environmental impacts must be considered when designing a solar site. Developers must have goals not just to create a marketable product and make money, but also maintain the vegetation under the panels and improve the land with wastewater and soil improvements. The most common form of agrivoltaics today is just EcoVoltaics, which is planting native plantings underneath these solar panels. While this seems like an easy solution, this system doesn't work without livestock causing a natural disturbance to keep weeds down and native plants thriving, as in a traditional prairie ecosystem. Cows and chickens mimic the natural prairie system where bison graze the plants, and prairie chickens followed afterwards to eat any bugs left behind. Without this, solar developers will be using gasoline-powered mowers to keep their vegetation down, and this will inevitably lead to weeds overtaking the native plantings, as we've seen in previous use cases. The second most common form of agrivoltaics is livestock grazing. Livestock, however, requires supervision and modification. If left to roam permanently in an open enclosure, animals will degrade the land unevenly. However, if managed, livestock will do the necessary labor needed on a solar site naturally, and land stewards are still able to make money from the animals' products down the line. Though it is currently the least common form of agrivoltaics, true agrivoltaics, I suppose, is crops. Crop agrivoltaic research is only really being done in very few locations, most notably Jack's Solar Farm in Colorado. Colorado, however, receives very little rainfall, and solar arrays usually don't have irrigation beneath them. Indiana poses a unique benefit where we have high precipitation and relatively low summer heat, and most of our land is being wasted on corn and soy, which we are not eating. This opens up a huge opportunity to thus introduce diversified crops to farms and still make money without chemical companies getting involved and getting a piece of the profits. It is a pure farmer profit. Adding solar panels to land creates a unique microclimate on the site beneath the panels themselves. Heat is reduced and moisture is increased, while light reaches every part of the site at some point, and every area is shaded sometime during the day. This provides an interesting opportunity, especially with climate change increasing heat waves and longer heat days, as well as less moisture. This not only is great for Indiana specifically, but could provide benefits across the entire country with a changing climate. When designing the use for under a solar site, the most important existing conditions to consider when doing site analysis is the existing code for the county that one must work within. Then stormwater, how to keep it on site and reduce runoff to better the land surrounding the site, and a sunshade diagram to ensure that production is as efficient as possible for the solar panels, while increasing the vegetative buffers and trees on site as much as possible. Agrivoltaics is a multifaceted and complicated issue involving both natural and engineered solutions. Because of this, there is no one perfect solution that can be applied to every solar site, but different best case scenarios to fit each use wanted by the solar site. Industrial versus community scale solar sites and the uses underneath differ based off of the scale of the site for community use or industrial production.